The red shoes. There was once a pretty delicate little girl who was so poor that she had to go barefoot in summer and wear coarse wooden shoes in winter, which made her little instep quite red. In the center of the village, there lived an old shoemaker's wife. One day this good woman made, as well as she could, a little pair of shoes out of some strips of old red cloth. The shoes were clumsy enough, to be sure, but they fitted the little girl tolerably well, and anyway, the woman's intention was kind. The little girl's name was Karen. On the very day that Karen received the shoes, her mother was to be buried. They were not at all suitable for mourning, but she had no others. So she put them on her little bare feet and followed the poor plain coffin to its last resting place. Just at that time, a large old-fashioned carriage happened to pass by, and the old lady who sat in it saw the little girl and pitied her. "Give me the little girl," she said to the clergyman, "and I will take care of her." Karen supposed that all this happened because of the red shoes, but the old lady thought them frightful and ordered them to be burned. Karen was then dressed in neat, well-fitting clothes and taught to read and sew. People told her she was pretty, but the mirror said, "You are much more than pretty, you are beautiful." It happened not long afterwards that the queen and her little daughter, the princess, traveled through the land. All the people, Karen among the rest, flocked toward the palace and crowded around it, while the little princess dressed in white stood at the window for everyone to see. She wore neither train nor a golden crown, but on her feet were beautiful red Morocco shoes, which, it must be admitted, were prettier than those the shoemaker's wife had given to little Karen. Surely nothing in the world could be compared to those red shoes. Now that Karen was old enough to be confirmed, she, of course, had to have a new frock and new shoes. The rich shoemaker in the town took the measure of a little feet in his own house, in a room where stood great glass cases filled with all sorts of fine shoes and elegant, shining boots. It was a pretty sight, but the old lady could not see well and naturally did not take so much pleasure in it as Karen. Among the shoes were a pair of red ones, just like those worn by the little princess. Oh, how gay they were! The shoemaker said they had been made for the child of a count, but had not fitted well. "Are they of polished leather that they shine so?" asked the old lady. "Yes, indeed, they do shine," replied Karen. "And since they fitted her, they were bought." But the old lady had no idea that they were red, or she would never in the world have allowed Karen to go to confirmation in them as she now did. Everyone, of course, looked at Karen's shoes, and when she walked up the nave to the chancel, it seemed to her that even the antique figures on the monuments, the portraits of clergymen and their wives, with their stiff ruffs and long black robes, were fixing their eyes on her red shoes. Even when the bishop laid his hand upon her head and spoke of her covenant with God, and how she must now begin to be a full-grown Christian, And when the organ pealed forth solemnly, and the children's fresh, sweet voices joined with those of the choir, still Karen thought of nothing but her shoes. In the afternoon, when the old lady heard everyone speak of the red shoes, she said it was very shocking and improper, and that in the future, when Karen went to church, it must always be in black shoes, even if they were old. The next Sunday was Karen's first communion day. She looked at her black shoes and then at her red ones, then again at the black and at the red, and the red ones were put on. The sun shone very brightly, and Karen and the old lady walked to church through the cornfields, for the road was very dusty. At the door of the church stood an old soldier who leaned upon a crutch and had a marvelously long beard that was not white but red. He bowed almost to the ground and asked the old lady if he might dust her shoes. Karen, in her turn, put out her little foot. "Oh, look! What smart little dancing pumps!" said the old soldier. "Mind you do not let them slip off when you dance." And he passed his hands over them. The old lady gave the soldier a halfpenny and went with Karen into the church. As before, everyone saw Karen's red shoes, and all the curved figures too bent their gaze upon them. When Karen knelt at the chancel, she thought only of the shoes. They floated before her eyes, and she forgot to say her prayer or sing her psalm. At last, all the people left the church, and the old lady got into her carriage. As Karen lifted her foot to step in, the old soldier said, "See what pretty dancing shoes!" And Karen, in spite of herself, made a few dancing steps. When she had once begun, her feet went on of themselves. It was as though the shoes had received power over her. She danced round the church corner, she could not help it, and the coachman had to run behind and catch her to put her into the carriage. Still her feet went on dancing, so that she trod upon the good lady's toes. It was not until the shoes were taken from her feet that she had rest. The shoes were put away in a closet, but Karen could not resist going to look at them every now and then. Soon after this, the old lady lay ill in bed, and it was said that she could not recover. She had to be nursed and waited on, and this, of course, was no one's duty so much as it was Karen's, as Karen herself well knew. But there happened to be a great ball in the town, and Karen was invited. She looked at the old lady who was very ill, and she looked at the red shoes. She put them on, for she thought there could not be any sin in that, and of course there was not, but she went next to the ball and began to dance. Strange to say, when she wanted to move to the right, the shoes bore her to the left. And when she wished to dance up the room, the shoes persisted in going down the room. Down the stairs they carried her at last into the street and out through the town gate. On and on she danced, for dance she must, straight out into the gloomy wood. Up among the trees something glistened. She thought it was the round red moon, for she saw a face, but no, it was the old soldier with the red beard who sat and nodded, saying, "See what pretty dancing shoes!